Yeah, this is LFDRA audio. If I knew at the age of 25, at the age of 25 in 2013, if I knew I was going to be abducted and drugged over 7 times for over 12 years without a day in court to determine fact from fiction, what someone said, lies someone told to the government, what my sister told the government was false, and I haven't had a day in court to dispute it. I don't get me wrong, I did speak about Thomas S. Monson, and I did speak about the CIA and the Utah Mormon cult and Thomas S. Monson, and I didn't say what my sister claims I said to her. They've based this whole 7 times I've been abducted and drugged without a day in court. See, according to it in SAS training, what they released about SAS training, if you arrest someone or you discipline someone and don't tell them what they're being disciplined or arrested for, and they've got no aspect of being able to dispute what someone has said before, for an example, an arrest court for someone to be abducted and drugged, an arrest court where that person can call witnesses and everything to determine fact from fiction of what someone has said, according to it in SAS training, training that has been released to the public through documentaries. If they discipline an SAS recruit, but they don't tell them what they're being disciplined or what they have the context of discipline for, being arrested without a day in court at the age of 25, if I knew I was going to be abducted and drugged over 7 times on false information that someone's partially correct. Yes, I did say I spoke about Thomas S. Monson and the Utah Mormon cult, and I am Mr. Harry Stiller, and I was taken to Maryborough Health Service, Mental Health Services, Maryborough Health Service, and I was locked in seclusion. I was locked in a locked door policy of Campbell Newman without a day in court to prosecute false claims that someone had told the government that worked for the government for 4 months in their whole life as a school cleaner, toilet cleaner. And she said to the government, this is what she said. She said, he's talking about the CIA in the he called the, actually all I said was, this is what I said. I said, Thomas S. Monson belongs to the Utah Mormon cult. I said Thomas S. Monson was a Vietnam veteran who then became the president of the Utah Mormon cult, and I was talking about Thomas S. Monson and I said he probably worked for the CIA because he was a military veteran, so of course he worked for the United States government. But what CIA stand for? Control, install, autonomy. I didn't say that, but she said, and I was talking to her while I was sitting in front of the TV, and I was talking to her in her lounge room while she was in the kitchen, and I said, and that's what I said, I was talking about Thomas S. Monson, and said something about, they made a big thing over saying the CIA and the Utah Mormon cult for fucking years. You know what she said to the government? She said, oh, my brother's hearing voices. He's talking about the CIA in the local church, which my sister's church was the Utah Mormon cult, and I told her it was a cult and that Thomas S. Monson was a Vietnam veteran. And I said, yeah, look, it's probably been used by the CIA, that they can neither confirm nor deny. That's what I said. She made up all this other shit, said I was hearing voices. I was arrested. I refused to take the medication. I was just locked in seclusion, didn't see a psychiatrist, pushed to the floor, injected with long-acting high-potency dopamine blockers. And then over 7 to 12 years, I've been abducted and I've been arrested over 7 times. And they said, if you don't have your brain measured to this MRI hard drive, you'll be arrested. If you don't take the injection medication, you'll be arrested. I had no avenue, I had no option of of going to court to determine fact from fiction in the aspect, see, people could just make up false shit. But I had already reported before that event. I already reported to the National Security Hotline what the Indian soldier told me that was working on a banana farm with an Indian soldier ID card about the Al-Qaeda network, Indian subcontinent Al-Qaeda network planning to attack bridges, which I already reported to the National Security Hotline. I was just arrested and drugged on stuff that my sister Kim made up to the government. She was working for Definition 6 for 4 months in her whole life, and she made up all these false claims. I'm yet to get a day in court to prosecute the government for compensation. Yet. They have knowingly committed a genocide. They've murdered over 170,000 people over the past 5 years. The belief of psychiatrists' belief is they're not measured, yet they'll knowingly arrest people, forcefully drug them, and measure their brains to fucking hard drives. I never said to my sister Kim what she told the government. All I said was Thomas S. Monson was a Vietnam veteran, and the Utah Mormon cult probably has been used by the CIA, having all of their officers all over the planet that they can neither confirm nor deny. That's all I said to her. I never said how she said it to Definition 6, or to the Justice of the Peace that got a judicial order for an abduct and drug. But I didn't get actual assessment. They went on what she said for fucking years until she told me a year ago what she told the government. Definition 6, I wasn't able to call witnesses to exactly what she said. But to the context, Thomas S. Monson treats Stiller's mind. MHS, Maryborough Health Service, Mr. Harry Stiller. I'm yet to have a day in court to prosecute the government's genocide. The government, the ALP, the LNP have knowingly committed a genocide and shoved it under the carpet. There's been over 170,000 people murdered over the past 5 years. The belief of psychiatrists is they're not measured to a fucking apparatus, a fucking malware, yet where does the fucking money go? Yeah, as I said, at the age of 25, if I knew I was going to be abducted and drugged at the age of 25, I would have preferred to have been shot dead and cremated without body part thefts, having to consume over 12 years of my life, being abducted and drugged over 7 times, being forcefully injected for over 12 fucking years. I would have preferred death I would have preferred being shot dead at the age of 25 and cremated without any body part thefts. From how they commit their genocide and do all of that in their measured apparatus and malware, I would have preferred fucking death. I would have preferred being shot dead at the age of 25 and cremated without body part thefts. No one has an option to prosecute the government's genocide. They have knowingly committed genocide through the fortification of their measured apparatuses. Psychiatrists have the belief they're not measured to a measured apparatus. Measurement crimes exist. Measurement theft crimes exist. Semantic scanning. Why is it now that Microsoft has produced a product statement in their terms and conditions about semantics and semantic decoding? Measurements of the brain in BCI technologies. LFDRA do and don't support BCI technologies. We do and don't. Semantics is an aspect of BCI technologies. It is terrorism. I would have preferred to have been shot dead at the age of 25 than to have to consume the malware of ALP and LMP for over 12 years without an actual real day in fucking court to prosecute what the fucking government is fortifying on what fictitious stuff people have said. But nor can the CIA confirm nor deny that Thomas S. Monson, according to it, the Utah Mormon cult has a whole heap of shell companies with their $100 billion they've stockpiled, and they've worked out it's not a charity. And of course, having locations all over the planet, maybe apart from North Korea, of course, US government people would have exploited it. So, pretty much all I said was Thomas S. Monson was a Vietnam veteran and it probably has been used by the CIA. I never said it was the CIA. All I said it probably has been used by the CIA. Obviously, relics, all they're doing is collecting money in measurement crimes, crimes of measurement crimes, measurement theft crimes, and now in product disclosure, Microsoft has got about semantics in their product disclosure terms of use. And according to it, what else she said? She said I was talking in front of the TV. Well, I was actually talking to her in the kitchen while I was watching TV and also on my laptop writing the AWEO policy that I sent to the feds, the DPMC, in 2013. I was talking to my sister sitting in front of the TV while she was in the bloody kitchen. So she's made up all this stuff. I hadn't had a day in an arrest court before a forced drugging and abduction and drugging and labelling. So all they want is human slaves in their human slavery trade, in their measured apparatus of malware. You've got no option of a day in court to prosecute the government on what someone said before. They'll just abduct and drug you for the rest of your fucking labelled life in their measured apparatus of malware. Yeah, this is LFDRA audio. So previously, I asked Copilot a question of who bought Telstra, and this was a while ago, and it said between 2010 and 2013, a part of Telstra was sold to Elon Musk, a CIA special agent, for $15.9 billion. That's what Copilot had said when I asked the question on a Microsoft device. But now it's saying this. I asked the question, Telstra, that was telecom phone lines, were they sold in a $15.9 billion sale in 2013? And now it's saying something completely different. It referenced Bing.com, but it said, this is what it's saying: in 2013, Telstra sold its fixed line business, including its telecom phone lines, to TPG Telecom, known as TPG Group Holdings Limited. And it said the deal was valued at 1.35 billion Australian dollars. And it says this sale included Telstra's copper network and other assets related to its fixed line services. But according to a previous question I asked Copilot on a Microsoft device and not an Apple device, it said Telstra was sold in 2013 for $15.9 billion to CIA special agent of Doggy, Elon Musk. That's what it said on a Microsoft device, but on an Apple device using Copilot, it said in 2013 Telstra sold its fixed line business, including its telecom phone lines, to TPG Telecom, known as TPG Group Holding Limited. And it says the deal was valued at 1.35 billion Australian dollars. And it said this sale included Telstra's copper network and other assets related to its fixed line services. And then I was using Copilot on an Apple device, and I was also using Copilot on a Microsoft device. And then it said in the other. See, Copilot's been updated heaps of times, and it's changed. It just updates and changes itself to how it wants it, how it monetizes its language learning model, and it changes. Though according to the reference of, the previous Copilot months ago that I asked about the sale of Telstra, it said in the answer, it said it was sold for 15.9, the remaining Telstra shares it claims. It said it was sold in 2013 to Elon Musk for $15.9 billion, a CIA special agent of Doggy. But now
now it's saying on the Apple device, it seems there might be some confusion. There wasn't specific, so I don't know if it's in a conspiracy cover-up mode to selling your backup emergency phone line service. Now it's saying there wasn't a Pacific $15.9 billion sale involving Telstra in 2013. However, it says now it says on the Apple device using Copilot. However, Telstra has undergone several significant transactions and sales over the years, including the partial privatisation of the company in the early 2000s. And then it says, could you provide more details or clarify what you're referring to? I'd love to help you find the information you're looking for. And then I said, you said a while ago that there was Telstra sale for $15.9 billion. And it says, I apologise for any confusion. This is on the Apple device, and it says it seems I made a mistake earlier. There wasn't specific 15 point. See, this is what it's saying now, but then it says Telstra's partial privatisation occurred in the early 2000s, with the final of shares sold in 2006 for $15.4 billion. That's what it's saying now. And now it claims Elon Musk hasn't purchased any shares of Telstra. So, but according to Copilot before, when I asked it on Microsoft, and it referenced government websites and everything, and it said it was sold in the Rudd government, remaining shares for $15.9 billion or something. But now it's saying under the Rudd and Gillard governments, there wasn't a direct sale of Telstra itself, but this is what it says now, but rather a significant politics is all just bullshit. ALP politics, LNP politics, they're all just conspiracy cover-ups for their pay packets. They don't think of their selfish interests. They don't put your emergency backup phone line network, that should never have been privatized. What would we say if we sold Ukraine's wire phone service to powered wire phone service network to Russia in between the war? What if we did that? Just sold Ukraine's wired phone network to Russia. How do you think that'd be then? You know what I'm saying? Because Trump's in his same language motives at the moment. People's Republic of China, same thing, eh? I'm not getting into it. It's on the foreign policy page, but see, Mandarin is spoken in People's Republic of China and Republic of Taiwan. So that's same language stuff, and Trump's motives is Trump publicly spoke about his motives about same language countries. And it says the Labor government led by Prime Minister Kevin Rudd and later Julia Gillard committed to building the NBN. So it's sort of scapegoating from the aspect of what they've sold, and then it's claiming to fund. It says it's all. So on an Apple device, because it's on a measured apparatus, you'll get some information, and then on a Microsoft device, you'll get Riggy-dig information that's not interpreted by Apple's measured apparatus device and all of that. So, maybe the government needs to come clean. If there's been, see that they were saying that Elon, according to Copilot before, Copilot said that Elon Musk bought the remaining shares of Telstra for $15.9 billion in 2013, and now it's saying it didn't. I don't know who owns TPG Group Holdings Limited, but according to Copilot before, it claimed Telstra sold its remaining shares for $15.9 billion to Elon Musk in 2013. That's what Copilot said before, on a non-Apple device. So, depending on the measured apparatus, it'll alter answers to questions depending on the measured apparatus. Because in physics and entanglement, what happens in the aspect of the apparatus in physics and entanglement to what's a language learning model operate on? A motherboard, a physics board, a board of physics, a physicist's physics board of the measured apparatus. So they sold the copper network. They should never have sold. Well, it's a policy of Republic of Australia, LFDRA party policy that the copper network and the NBN will be 100% Republic of Australia Federation government administration ownership, and that goes with a mobile phone network as well. So your cable network of your phone line, that was a powered phone line. That's a powered phone line that ran the power for your phone. That was your emergency backup. That was your emergency backup if shit ever hit the fan. That was your emergency backup. But according to it, it was sold. But you'll get conflicting information from Copilot, depending on the device you're on. So what do you? Well, yeah, we'd have Telstra would be 100% Republic of Australia Federation government ownership. So we wouldn't have sold your backup, your powered phone line service. We wouldn't have sold that. But according to Copilot, months ago, it said there was a sale of Telstra for $15.9 billion to Elon Musk in 2013. Now, according to it, anao.gov.au was decommissioned by the Liberal National Party. Australian National Audit Office was decommissioned by the Liberal National Party, or whatever it's called, the ANAO. According to it, yeah, that was decommissioned by the Liberal National Party. But there's heaps of conflicting information on Apple devices with Copilot, because obviously it runs on a measured apparatus. So we're not going to get the truth from the Fed on the sale of the phone line network, the powered phone line network. Because the thing is, that's the emergency backup, and it's been sold and privatized. And the mobile phone network, not everyone has got its critical infrastructure. Its critical infrastructure is a powered phone line network and being able to power your mobile phone but the Fed just seems to be malware. The Fed seems to be malware. King Charles seems to be malware. There's nothing I can do about it, because they'll claim their context FIT, yet they'll commit genocide and shove it under the carpet. And they're hypocrites, and big conspiracy over Telstra, selling the copper network. Then they've come back saying they were going to sell the NBN, and then there was a big thing over the Wi-Fi network and NBN, yet they sold their emergency powered phone line network, which was malware. That was your backup. Now it's privately owned, your emergency phone line network. That's like selling it to Russia. It was sell the Ukrainian military, Ukrainian Defense Forces military powered phone line network in Ukraine? I don't think so. To Russia? I don't think so. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is LFDRA audio. This is about the bus and train strike in Definition 6 NSW. Well, just on that, people only have single lives. How psychiatrists of New South Wales government, like we do know there are statistics, and psychiatrists have committed genocide with how the legal systems of the Fed and Definition 6 have put psychiatrists as the head ponchos in the legal system, that they can just on a false declaration, on a false statutory declaration that someone makes to Definition 6, they'll just go out and abduct and drug and base all of their, so they'll use the police to abduct and drug someone on stuff that could be false that someone's made up. But percentage true, but a percentage false as well. And then instigate malware. Though on the Definition 6 state train strike in New South Wales, in Definition 6 NSW, and you'll see it on the ROA regions map, what part of Sydney and parts of New South Wales where the strike has taken place. You'll notice how there's no toilets on the city trains. There's no toilets on the city trains, and there's no drinking water on the city trains. And if there's no buses running, you obviously don't have access to toilets or drinking water. What the people in Definition 6 New South Wales would be going through, passengers, though my uncle, people only have single lives, though my uncle, he died at the age of 65. He was a bus driver in Sydney. And he died at the age of 60. He died the year that he retired. He died. He drove a bus his whole life for New South Wales government, or whoever owns the New South Wales bus service, the city buses, and he died. He died the year that he retired. So people only have single lives. Clive Palmer told it. What Clive Palmer said. Clive Palmer said life expectancy is 60 or 65, with the existing aspect of a work week and everything. Life expectancy 60 or 65. They reckon it's around 70 something for males and 80 something for females. The life expectancy in Australia is about age of 70 something for males and 80 something for females. Though, yeah, my uncle was dead. He was he drove a bus for New South Wales government his whole life, his whole working life. He drove a bus for for Sydney buses, or whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called in Sydney, for Definition 6, or whoever owns it, Definition 6. And he died at the age of 65. People only have single lives. How psychiatrists went on strike because Definition 6 New South Wales police are getting $120,000 a year. They're getting $120,000 something dollars a year. And psychiatrists' pay packets were $109,000 a year or $110,000 a year. Yet psychiatrists have used police and they've committed a genocide and shoved it under the carpet. They'll just abduct and drug anyone. And we've seen what happened with the lady in Lismore. She was locked into seclusion. There was no toilet. She had to piss and shit all over the floor. And they murdered her. Sent to the morgue. Hacked up. They probably flogged her body parts as well. And what they do with the rest of the body. According to it, when you die, you actually have no right over your body before it's either cremated or what's left of it buried. That's the reality of the law system. Though, you know, it's pretty hard for a rail network to, you know, there's Hollywood movies about driverless buses. Yeah, there's driverless buses and rail networks. Though people only have single lives. We need a fair and equal, stable way from the beginning. It's, it's disappointing that obviously our position is that it's disappointing that the travelling public are affected by it. Well, see, trains really can't strike. They really can't, or electrical, or however it works. They really can't all pull up at the maintenance shed, the trains, because there's probably so many of them on the network that they can't pull up at the maintenance shed. Though there's no toilets or water fountains on, or vending machines, no toilets and vending machines on city trains. But I suppose people are like, oh yeah, next station, or when they get home or get to work, or, but stuck on a train for 2 hours without a toilet or access to drinking water. It's only 2 hours, but you know what I mean? No toilet for 2 hours. You can probably hold yourself, but people might have been busting and then got on the train, and so, you know what I'm saying? It's a bit of an inconvenience. So my uncle, he drove a bus for New South Wales government his whole life, and he died at the year he retired. So it just, people only have single lives, and Clive Palmer was right about people will be dead by the age of 60 or 65, though the life expectancy for females was 70 years, in between 70 and 7, no, for males, it was in between 70 and 75 years, and for females, it was between 80 and 85 years or something. Actual life expectancy in Australia. Life expectancy in Australia was 70 something, between 70 and 75 for males, and for females it was 80 to 84 or 85 or something. So that was actual life expectancy. Yet, as I said, my uncle died at the age of 65, and he drove a bus in Sydney his whole life. So it just shows how short life is. People only have a single life, and they just want a fair and equal, stable way and a decent amount of income that they can survive. The average house price in Sydney, for example, what I said in an LFDRA audio broadcast the other day on this channel at Harry Stiller LFDRA.
Yeah, I said this in a previous LFDRA audio broadcast about how in the 70s, how residentials in the 70s were about $30,000 to $35,000. And now a residential probably anywhere in Australia would start from about $500,000 to $2 million. So what $30,000 to $35,000 was in the 70s, today it's about $500,000 to $2 million to $3 million plus what $30,000 to $35,000 was in the 70s. That's what it is today. $30,000 to $35,000 in the 70s. Today, anywhere in the country is about $500,000 to $3 million. So you can see why they're striking, how New South Wales Police wanted 120,000. In reality, to get a residential, how many years do they have to work? 110,000, 120,000 plus tax. What's the percentage of tax? Well, the percentage of tax on 120,000 with of Republic of Australia LFDRA party policy, that's 100,000, 8.5%. That's $8,500 a year. So 910, so it'd be $10,500 tax. So the actual income for police would be $108,000 after tax. That'd be the police after tax would be $108,000. When it comes to
See, psychiatrists went on strike. They're 109,000, 110,000. They went on strike, obviously, because police were getting 120,000. So you can see how the cookie crumbles there, yet the psychiatrists are the one committing the genocide. I say good riddance to the psychiatrists. They've done 4 years plus another how many years to be a psychiatrist, yet they cause neuroleptic malignant syndrome, which is instant death. How many people were, I've said this in another LFDRA audio broadcast, how many people were murdered by Scott Morrison's $1 billion that he spent in 2019? How many people have been murdered from involuntary treatments? The way the media will flog the ideology and the stereotype for pharmaceutical industry profits, but there's knowingly been a genocide. And who profits? And the way they'll flog it to keep the pharmaceutical industries happy, to keep the faculty clients happy, and the definition 6 in the Fed, how there was that thing on a media, I can't remember the name of the TV station or media outlet, but they were saying emergency departments will be packed full of people that have just been abducted and drugged, involuntarily presented to emergency departments that have got no day in court, and the measured apparatus will just abduct and drug them for pharmaceutical industry profits, and they can't get a lawyer and call witnesses to what someone said about them to be abducted and drugged and labelled. They don't have a chance to go before a court, an arrest court, because they've been arrested, presented at the emergency department, and they were saying people with heart attacks and broken legs and all of that will aspect of ramping because, they're just filling cells at the hospital to go to their gulags. There's a video on YouTube about Lismore. The lady had to piss and shit in a room. Lucky she'd still be alive. Well, she's dead. But how many people were murdered from Scott Morrison's $1 billion that he spent? Though Bill Shorten was all about keeping Anthony Albanese happy and all the landlords happy with all the rental investment exploits. But it seems to be that no one in the country wants a fair and equal, stable way from the beginning. The apparatus has blocked a fair and equal, stable way from the beginning, and long live all Australians and ROA LFDRA. It seems to be, it's like the robo and the apparatus and the moderators and everything is saying, the context of long live all Australians and ROA LFDRA, they're saying it's all against community standards. They're saying, yet they'll commit a genocide, they go out, abduct and drug, and they've committed genocide and shoved it under the carpet. But see, in the measured apparatus, because psychiatrists' belief, the belief of psychiatrists is they're not measured. The belief of psychiatrists is measured autonomy doesn't exist and they're not measured.
Yeah, this is LFDRA audio. I've been watching Only Planes Network, the YouTube channel Only Planes Network, for about, I know Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like the facts anymore, but I was just seeing how it was to be a member and subscriber and doing a super chat on Only Planes Network live stream. And so I got the membership. I paid the $2.99 for the membership. Had a bit of a chat with other users. Then I went to do a super chat on Only Planes Network, and I said I eventually worked it out, and I went to do a super chat on Only Planes Network and on YouTube, the channel on YouTube, and there was likes to the comment and comments, though according to it the robo came up. I don't know if it was the robo or the mod or the robo of the channel, but they said the context, I wrote in the super chat what I was saying on Only Planes Network on the super chat, because I thought the super chat went on the live stream, how it used to be with like a live read. And I said, I've been watching the show for about a month, It came up when I joined the Lurkers Lounge. It came up with my, my channel name and everything, Harry Stiller. Well, it came up with my name, Harry Stiller, but it didn't come up with my channel name, Harry Stiller LFDRA. It just said Harry. They just said Harry Stiller with my channel logo. But in the super chat, I said, "Oh yeah, been watching the show for about a month, and long live all Australians and ROA LFDRA." And the super chat was blocked. The robo deleted the super chat was deleted. So I've just gone through. I'm disputing it with Google at the moment for a $5 refund. I thought a super chat, if you put a super chat on a live stream, if you do a super chat, your super chat is... I didn't know the Lurkers Lounge memberships were broadcast on the stream. I'm okay with that though. It doesn't bother me, but I've been watching the show. I was watching the show for about a month, and I was watching Sid Squad as well. I've been watching Sid Squad and Only Planes Network on the YouTube channel, Sid Squad and Only Planes Network, and all the other plane spotting shows at airports. But the robo blocked it. They were saying the context, been watching the show for over a month. Enjoy the show, been watching it for over a month, and the context, long live all Australians and ROA LFDRA, that was blocked. That was blocked on the super chat. There was likes, that people liked the comment, but it was blocked on the super chat. So I'm disputing it with Google for a refund. So, with the aspect of the robo and the mods, you can't say long live all Australians anymore or ROA LFDRA. So Facebook Zuckerberg, their things were saying it was like saying long live all Australians. It was blocked. I couldn't even say that to a group, long live all Australians and LFDRA. It's blocked. They're saying it's against community standards because they have to swear to serve King Charles. They don't like anything that's not favouritism to King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm. So, I tried making a super chat on Only Planes Network saying long live all Australians, but it was blocked. It was blocked by the robo, by the bot or something. Yeah, the thing is, nothing changes. It doesn't matter. See, King Charles, he goes on, like, for example, at the Commonwealth Games, a sporting event. That's really probably the only thing apart from the favouritism law circles, how we see the favouritism law circles of themselves of ALP, the favouritism law circles of themselves of LNP, the favouritism law circles of themselves of the Greens, the favouritism law circles of themselves when it comes to the Greens and ALP and LNP, they're favouritism law circles of themselves. ALP's a favouritism law circle of themselves. Though King Charles realm, because King Charles claims Australia's official name is King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm. That's how he views it. That's what the Governor General is paid to facilitate favouritism to and fortification of, that it's King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm. That's what she's paid, that $700,000 a year or something. Though King Charles, he just claims we're like 2 billion people plus. He said that at a Commonwealth Games. He reckons, we're 2 billion people plus and all this shit, saying we're too big. We're nowhere near it. In the harsh reality of it, Australia is a small country. Australia has the right to have independence from King Charles III, Commonwealth realm. Australia has the right to have its independence. Do you truthfully think that the majority of Australians, because the AFP's belief is that we are UK,
That's the belief of the AFP, is that we're UK. So on the English, on all the software, it used to be UK English or US English. But now it's Australia English. Some have Australia English and all this on other devices. But then the latest software with some $1 trillion net worth businesses is it's Australia English US, Australia English US English US, UK English US, or GB English US. Though Australia has the right for independence, I dare say that the majority of Australians believe we are not UK. Australia is only a small country. King Charles lives in his fanciful ideology of his realm, measured to the apparatus of measured autonomy, and claims he's not. Because they thought, it's a best defence to be the royals. Best defence to be royals, a royal regime, because according to it, the Fed staff and Definition 6 staff and the APS, they all claim they're not stable if they don't stay a royal regime. They're claiming they can't be stable if they're not a royal regime. That's the claim. That's the claim by Definition 6 Fed and state staff. They're just claiming they're not stable if they're not a royal regime. That's their claim. Their claim is they're not stable if they're not a royal, if they don't stay King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm. They claim they're not stable. That's what they claim. But King Charles goes on, King Charles III realm goes on. He said, 2 billion plus Commonwealth Games. He's 2 billion plus at the Commonwealth Games. Maybe for a sporting athletics event such as the Commonwealth Games, he claims there's a population of 2 billion people out of independent countries, but he doesn't say independent countries because they all have to observe his King Charles III Commonwealth realm ideology of the fucking measured apparatus. But it's malware. See, there's all the state governments in all the Definition 6 state governments in Australia, they have portfolios of state security. So that's like, for example, how would you interpret that in the Australian apparatus? Homeland Security or ASIO. All the state governments have their state security portfolios where they put the interest of their state government above everything else. They don't think about the selfish interests of the ALP, the selfish interests of the LNP, the selfish interests of the Greens, the selfish interests of King Charles III, Commonwealth of King Charles III realm. That's how he views it. It's all just King Charles III realm, Commonwealth of. Yet Australia has the right to independence from King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm. I know how all the media apparatuses are going to go. I know how the control install autonomy is going to go of the measured apparatus. Our psychiatrists have the belief they're not measured. But how did billionaires make their money? You know, how did trillion dollar corporations make their money? There's 4 businesses that are worth over $12 trillion. But I can't believe all the spyware malware in the measured apparatus, all the exploits. Of course it's exploited. But King Charles III claims we're 2 billion plus in population. But in reality, Australia's population is 30 million something. It's only a small country. It's a small country. They're not thinking about a living person apart from the selfish interests of themselves. We need a fair and equal, stable way from the beginning. But according According to the population, they don't want a fair and equal, stable way. Every amniotic sac and sperm that grows to the age of 21 gets a comp residential and a generic Oscar Ruscar in a fair and equal, stable way, because the way what's happened with land being divided and the First Fleet and all of this shit and the frontier massacres and the genocide that's been committed by the government, it wouldn't. I think the United Nations should just walk straight into King Charles III Commonwealth of Australia realm and arrest Definition 6 and the Fed for committing the genocide. Where did the profits go from the claimed health product, mental health, that faculties of psychiatry flogged? There's been a genocide over the past 5 years. There's been 170,000 people murdered by Definition 6 and the Fed. And it's shoved under the carpet. And they'll go on in all these stereotype ideologies flogging it for pharmaceutical industry profits. Context, monetary gains. And they'll go on in all this malware, and they'll be like they're 2 billion people plus. They are nowhere near 2 billion people plus in King Charles's fanciful ideology that everything's just his royal realm to do whatever he wants at any time he wants with his malware. But the Governor Generals are paid to be favouritism to King Charles. But the ALP are selfish. They only think about themselves. The LNP, they only think about their pay packets. The LNP are malware. They're not thinking about a living person. People only have a single life. It's terrorism. You'll go on with your malware, but how would psychiatrists be if we said, no, we're just going to arrest every psychiatrist or every legislator that legislated? They can just have, because you know what they used to do? They used to force sterilisation of sperm and eggs on whatever that's called in the medical term. They used to force, the law dictates, they can force that on anyone they want at any time they want. They can force all this shit. But it's terrorism. If you had to consume being abducted and drugged over 7 times over 12 years without no day in court, there's secret rigged tribunals, and you'll claim there's been no genocide. You'll claim Scott Morrison said $1 billion to fund the faculty ideology of mental health, and what's been the genocide rate from involuntary treatments. You'll claim no one would actually pay slave tax to knowingly consume that. So what they claim to be human rights, it's fucking malware. And yeah, America just fucking uses their control, install autonomy, and their CIA to just manipulate populations. They turn it on and off in their malware. They had presentations how they just, fucking turn things on and off in their fucking apparatus of malware. 3,000 satellites outside of Earth's orbit, the junk that's added on outside of Earth orbit, I couldn't give a shit. I couldn't give a shit. I don't get paid a fucking cent, but according to it, the FBI can just do whatever the fuck they want, wherever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want. And so they just walk all over populations and commit genocide. Where does the money go? Where did the $1 billion go that Scott Morrison spent, and how many people were murdered from the $1 billion that Scott Morrison spent?
Yeah, this is LFDRA audio. I've said this in previous LFDRA audios. It's probably in Latest Too Oldest LFDRA audio and the other 2 podcast playlists. Well, in the 70s, in the 1970s, in the 70s of 1970s, well, a residential with land was about $30,000 to $35,000. Now with the monetized residential market, the way the rental investment exploits are, and
the developments for the foreclosures and the buyouts for developments of apartments that are 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, $1 million plus for a single apartment. In the 70s, a residential property was about $30,000 to $35,000 in the 70s. For a residential house and land was about $30,000 to $35,000. Though since the 1970s, in the year 2025, a residential property anywhere in Australia would start from 350,000, 400,000 to over 2 million. But in reality, the aspect of convenience and electricity, water, and phone line, and the convenience aspect, people are looking at the average person would have to pay, in reality, 450,000, 500,000 to $2 million plus just for a residential that in the 70s was about $30,000 to $35,000. So anywhere in Australia, you'd be looking at it'd start from well above the 400,000s, close to the $1 million to $2 million just for a residential. What a residential was in the 70s of about $30,000 to $35,000. In today's market for an apartment, minimum would be $300,000 to $2 million plus for a residential. So the thing is, the average person really doesn't realise, because they don't want people to know, the complementary residential is not the policy ideology of. It's not a policy ideology. ALP could never think about comp residential with an annual suburb rates of $2,000 a year that returns $20 trillion over 110 years. LMP couldn't think of that policy. The Greens couldn't think of that policy. No Fed or Definition 6 state staffer would ever think of that policy, because the political parties and Definition 6 staff, and especially doctors, are invested in rental investment exploits. Real estate agents will just leave rentals vacant, blacklist tenants, so they can foreclose in the market and develop for units and apartments. That's how the cookie crumbles. All this land, and the average person, I remember when I went to the bank for $50,000 for a block of land, all they said was fuck off. They just said fuck off, pretty much. They just said fuck off. So the way the federal law is, the way Definition 6 law is, what the Fed licenses, and what they claim to be. See, the Feds in Definition 6 of King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm, Fed and Definition 6 staff claim they're not stable if they don't stay a royal regime. That's the claim by the Fed and Definition 6 staff. They claim they're not stable. I've said this in a previous LFDRA audio broadcast. They claim they're not stable if they don't stay a royal regime of King Charles III. They claim they're not stable. That's the ideology of Definition 6 and the Fed. They claim they're not stable if they don't stay a royal regime as royal staff of the royal regime. That's what they claim. Though a Republic of Australia Federation, Republic of Australia LFDRA party government administration is a fair and equal, stable way from the beginning. I'm not going to go over it like a broken record. All I'll say, in the 70s, residential with a land was about $30,000 to $35,000. So what I was actually going to say in this LFDRA audio broadcast, if we go to the 70s, what was
$30,000 to $35,000 in the 70s. So, for example, how USA bought Alaska for only a few $1,000,000, and now in today's value, they were saying it was $150-something million that America paid for Alaska. So in regards to what was $30,000 or $35,000 for a built residential with some land in the 70s, today, the aspect of what $30,000 to $35,000 could buy you in the 70s, today, what $30,000 to $35,000 would be able to buy you a residential with the aspect of convenience and all of that is minimum. You're at $500,000-$600,000 plus rates, plus interests. So in reality, the average residential now, what $30,000 to $35,000 was worth today, that's about $600,000 to $2 million. What $30,000 to $35,000 was worth in the 70s. We need a fair and equal, stable way from the beginning. So I'm not going over it again like a broken record. That's it for this section of this LFDRA audio today.
How I spoke about in a previous LFDRA audio broadcast about the context of name Morrison. Well, there was just on that Morrison in syllable context, Morrison, military recruit services, minister, royal services, and how there was a Morrison, there was a General Morrison or a Chief Morrison in the Defence Force, military minister, royal services or something. But on the context of Morrison, RI, which I spoke about in a previous LFDRA audio broadcast, the context RI as in Rev India, Return India, though another context measured to Morrison's name is measured ordered revenue, injectable systems ordered neurology. How about that? Context, Morrison. I don't know how you spell it. If it's one R, let's find out. I'll find out if it's one R. Hold on one moment. I'll just find out if it's one R. Yeah, I'll just find out if it's one R. Just hold on one moment. I'm just going to find out if it's one R. Morrison. Let's find out how. Okay, it's spelt PM. I'll type in PM Morrison and see. PM Morrison. Here we go. Yeah, it's spelt Morrison. So, Scott Morrison. Services Minister. Services, sensory trade, measured revenue systems neurology in syllable context, sensory technology, and Morrison. How do you spell Morrison? Measured, ordered, royal revenue, measured, ordered, revenue, injectable systems ordered neurology. And what we see to the context of Scott Morrison's name in the measured apparatus and measured MAR 250 plus, we saw a mass injectable vaccination campaign by context name Morrison, didn't we? We saw that, didn't we? A pandemic with the context of Scott Morrison's name as in services minister. We saw, to the context of his name, a measured, ordered revenue, Revenue Injectable Systems Ordered Neurology. And we saw that in the aspect of the context pandemic under the Morrison government, didn't we? And where was Scott Morrison for New Year's 2025? With Donald Trump, measured placement, Donald Trump, TRU, Trade Revenue Uniform Measured Placement. With Melania, measured autonomy. And what's the last two letters? IA, install autonomy. And that's where he spent 2025 at Mar-a-Lago in USA with Donald Trump at their resort at Mar-a-Lago. But that's a bit about the context of Morrison's name, Services Minister. And there was someone by the Morrison in the Australian Defence Force of the Royals, was Morrison. Military recruit, services, military service, military recruit, military recruitment services, neurology. Scott Morrison, systems measurement. Scott, sensory technology. Morrison, I've already went over the context of Morrison. Measured, ordered, revenue injectable systems ordered neurology. Though that happened, didn't it? Under the time of Morrison, in the context of PM, measured placement, measurement, and he's meeting Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, measured autonomy, government orders, and then we got measured placement, and then Melania. I think that, I don't know if it's IA, install autonomy. I don't know how to spell Melania Trump's name. I don't even know what her last name is. But Morrison, measured, ordered, revenue injectable systems ordered neurology, measured, ordered, revenue injectable systems ordered neurology. How about that to the context of Morrison's name? Did we or did we not see a pandemic to the context of Morrison's fucking name? Yeah, this is LFDRA audio, Monday the 6th of January 2025. The thing is, we know now since the Texas University spoke publicly about semantic decoding and how, I've spoken about this in a previous LFDRA audio, how AI, well, what's been spoken about on World Science Festival. I am a fan of World Science Festival. Brian Green's presentation of World Science Festival on YouTube, I do watch that. According to what he did something in Brisbane. He had a show in Brisbane or something with the World Science Festival, Brian Green. But there's also other good physicists theories and ideologies on YouTube presentations on actually, in my spare time, I do study anthropology. I'd consider myself a bit of an anthropologist. Though that's a part-time hobby, being an anthropologist, which is the study of anthropology. An anthropologist is someone who studies all aspects of science, all the sciences. That's what an anthropologist is. Anthropology is the study of all sciences. So all the aspects of ology, and all that. Scientist, ST. And what's the fake name MI5 ordered? How do you spell psychiatrist? It's got an ST, doesn't it? And still is spelled ST as well. I've never had a day in court for over 12 years after being abducted and drugged, but on what the Texas University went public with about semantic decoding and AI human level intelligence, how AI is at human level interaction with the aspect of input, output, how Texas University, the thing is now is if
they're knowingly arresting people and drugging them for pharmaceutical industry profits for the slave trade. CST, slave trade. Still up, which is a fake name, but like I said, what was letter 3, 4, and 5 of name? ILL as in ill. Yet it's exploited because MI5 ordered the name that my dad's dad changed his name to Stiller when just after my dad was born. So that's one of the pages about Stiller being a fake name ordered by MI5 just after my dad's birth. Though on AI human level intelligence and Texas Uni about semantic decoding and how it's in prediction mode, how measurement theft is in prediction mode from forced MRIs, how the aspect of thought, what thought can do in the measured apparatus, yet measured MAR 250 plus is actually real. You might find it interesting to get a laptop computer. You could do a hypothesis and a conclusion, how they schedule shit. You could do a hypothesis and a conclusion. You could get a Microsoft laptop and play Mahjong. You know Mahjong? The game how you match the characters and everything on a board until there's no characters left. You could get a laptop and play Mahjong, however many tiles there are in the Mahjong thing, and play Mahjong. And then at the end, say 12 months later, after playing Mahjong on a measured device that's got a memory and DDR, you could do a conclusion to the hypothesis after playing Mahjong and see what happens after playing Mahjong. Though it's terrorism that the Fed is knowingly funding. So if they'll arrest people and force people to have an MRI and they'll drug people for pharmaceutical industry profits. But as I've said in previous LFDRA broadcasts on at Harry Stiller LFDRA, please do like, subscribe, and comment. I think we picked up another subscriber, so at the moment there's one subscriber. Though all the new LFDRA audio broadcasts on the 2 podcast playlists, after they reach about 3 or 4 hours, there'll be a compilation into a new 3 or 4 hour long, and they'll go into oldest to latest LFDRA audio new podcast. So at the moment there's 2 videos in there. Another video got in there, but I wasn't meant to put it in that podcast playlist, though it's in that podcast playlist, the LFDRA one with the blue logo with LFDRA, the blue background LFDRA logo. But semantic decoding is at human level interactions with AI, with our information technology. And of course it's exploited. But the thing is, if you knowingly did exploit the aspect of measured install, MI measured install, the brain, so Texas Uni were knowingly, they're public on the planet about semantic decoding to the aspect of the measured brain interacting in BCI with the computer, and where the aspect of it, if they are knowingly facilitating measurement theft and knowingly measuring brains to the hard drives to keep people in the snare maze of the pharmaceutical industry profits in the measured apparatus. See, according to it, I've already said this in previous LFDRA audio broadcasts. In 2013, Campbell Newman just got re-elected and changed the law in mental health to a locked door policy. And I was staying at my sister Kim's place. I hadn't visited her for years, so I went there. and she had the first job in her life. She had the job for 4 months. One of my sisters has only worked 4 months in her whole life. 4 months cleaning toilets at a school. 4 months in her whole life, she was working for Definition 6. She was working for a state government school cleaning toilets. And she gave all this trust to Definition 6. Definition 6 put themselves on the pedestal as the saviour of people's lives with their employees. And I was talking about Thomas S. Monson. I'm Mr. Stiller. And Treat Stiller's mine, Mr. Harry Stiller, Maryborough Health Service. Of course it's exploited. Who profits? Who profits from the measured apparatus? Where does the money go? It's knowingly did. In the measurement, there are measurement crimes and they are exploited. Measurement theft is a crime under Republic of Australian law. It would be a crime to knowingly measure someone's brain to a hard drive or a measured apparatus. Though where does the money go? And does the average Australian understand that 73% to 75% of what's claimed to be Australian business is owned by the United States of America? Corporations. 73 to 75% of business in Australia is owned by American businesses. Who's the owner of Wesfarmers? A former Harvard graduate who was a US military. Who owns Wesfarmers? A former US Harvard military ex-employee of the United States government of America or existing employee of the United States government that owns Wesfarmers, and how they flogged that. But 73% to 75% of Australian business is knowingly owned by the United States of America. And they get like, oh, who's fucking anti all this shit? Who's fucking anti and all this shit? But where does the money go in the measured apparatus? I did write to Kevin Rudd about Australia should become a republic in 5 years' time in 2010, 2011 or 2012. Though I reported to the National Security Hotline in 2011, 2012 about what a Indian soldier with an Indian ID card working on a banana farm. I reported to the National Security Hotline that there was a terrorist group planning to attack bridges, to attack bridges, blow up bridges. And we saw the bridge attacked by the Al-Qaeda India subcontinent people on the merchant ship in Baltimore. But I was just arrested and labelled delusional, forced to have my brain measured to a hard drive, not a day in court I haven't had a day in court yet. They've got secret rigged tribunals, but no lawyer. Lawyers know. Lawyers obviously know to the aspect that a measured apparatus, they can do nothing for someone in these secret rigged tribunals because they're just, the law system is they'll just abduct and drug measure their brains to hard drives. And where does the money go? Who makes the money in the pharmaceutical industry? And how many people have been murdered over the past 5 years? Over 170,000 people from the ALP, the LNP and the Monaco League. Though where does the money go? In the pharmaceutical industry profits, where does the money go? It's all about money. And who profits in that money business? In the extortion of people's lives to have their brains measured to hard drives in the measured apparatus. And where does the money go? To the NASDAQ, doesn't it? to the shareholders in the NASDAQ. And who owns that? American businesses. So at the moment, my screen recording app won't work on Microsoft, so I can't do any screen recordings of my website because it's been blocked. It says you have to reinstall the app, but you don't. It claims it's working, but I'll start recording and doing a voice, and then it'll just stop working. So I don't think that they don't want the fact about comp residential and generic Auscar and Ruscar to be known. They don't want a fair and equal stable way. The ALP are a facilitator of malware. So, and the LMP are a listed terrorist organisation. So, and the AFP believe we're UK. Because if we're not UK under King Charles, it'll be similar to the Boer War. But they're already committing genocide of the civil population. And where does the money go? The staff of the government and to the NASDAQ businesses of America and all the retailers in between that make the money, because they'll say, if you don't take this forced injection after having your brain measured to a hard drive on shit made up by it. The fact of the matter is that my sister, she lied. I never said anything to her about what she said to definition 6 in the aspect of the apparatus. Measurement theft is fucking real, but in psychiatry, what they claimed as fiction for fucking years in their human slavery trade, for all their fucking shopping lists, and then they'll go, oh, you got to believe, all this shit. So I'm not going to that website, because I'm not going to the fucking page that I was going to talk about. You can all go and get fucked. I don't give a shit. You chose ALP malware. You chose LMP malware. Though all of you terrorist regime cunts voted that the government can just abduct and drug anyone they want at any time they want, measure their brains to fucking hard drives, and drug them and murder them. That's what you fucking voted for. Yeah, if I knew I was going to be abducted and drugged by definition 6 at the age of 25 for talking about the CIA and the Utah Mormon cult in the measured apparatus, I would have preferred death than to be an exploited dead or alive slave for over 12 years without a day in court, arrested over 7 times, told if I refused to have my brain measured to a hard drive and injected with the long-acting, high-potency dopamine blockers that I'd be arrested. Without a day in court for over 12 years, I would have preferred fucking death. I'd prefer death than to have to consume the fucking malware. I'd prefer death without any body part thefts and cremation. I'd prefer the security of knowing none of my body parts are going to be stolen for fucking all the aspects of the shopping lists and all this shit. Oh, no, it doesn't exist, eh? Measured autonomy just doesn't fucking exist, does it? I would have preferred fucking death than to have to consume 12 years just being a dead or alive slave, abducted and drugged. If I knew at the age of 25... Well, before the age of 25, I was moving to fucking India anyway. I fucking had enough with the malware of the monarchist league of King Charles. I was leaving Australia at the age of 25 anyway. I was fucking off to India. I was going to move to India permanently and live there at the age of 25. But the thing is, the malware of Definition 6... Definition 6 staff have been publicly a listed terrorist organisation for quite some time. The AFP have been a listed terrorist organisation for quite some time. Don't think you can report anything to the National Security Hotline, because you'll just be abducted and drugged. Because they're of the belief measured autonomy doesn't exist, yet it's exploited.
It's exploited in the apparatus. Why does the president of China say he's not happy about Tibet Autonomous Region? How many times the terrorist regime definition 6 staffer said, "Oh, are you fucking self-harming? Are you fucking self-harming?" Of the royals, definition 6 are referred to as the royals, AFP are referred to as the royals. But according to it, if Australians defected in the Boer War, they were shot dead by the royals. The Monarchist League shot Australians dead if they didn't support the malware of the royals. I would have preferred death than to have to consume 12 years just being a labelled, abducted and drugged slave for pharmaceutical industry profits. I would have preferred death. Though I'd actually prefer death than to have to consume ALP and LMP and the malware of the media and all the malware of King Charles. I'd just prefer death than to have to because they'll be of the opinion they don't live in a measured apparatus of malware. And they'll claim all the spyware, malware doesn't exist. They didn't just, the $11 trillion businesses aren't just the backdoor to malware in measured autonomy. In the measured apparatus, they'll claim measured autonomy doesn't exist. They'll exploit it. They'll use that as their excuse. They'll make all these excuses up. And they'll claim measured autonomy doesn't exist and all this shit measured in the measured apparatus. Though I would have preferred, how many times I was asked by the therapist, "Are you fucking self-harming? Are you fucking self-harming?" All this shit, context, SH, stolen heart, surgery heart, surgeon's hole, all this shit. And they'll use that as their excuse in their measured apparatus of their malware. All this shit. So, I couldn't give a shit, but I would, if I'd prefer death. I would prefer death in the aspect of that no one can steal my body parts. I prefer death and the security, knowing not one part of my body is going to be stolen from, and that I'm cremated without any theft of organs or fucking. But then they'll say, "Oh no, it doesn't exist." Context SH just doesn't fucking exist, does it, cunt? Oh, nah. Oh, nah, that doesn't exist either, does it, cunt? Well, the age of 25, the age of 15 to 25, under LFDRA's classification, that is your youth. The age of 15 to 25 youth ends at the age of 25. That's when being a youth ends. At the age of 25. It's as simple as that. That's the end of your youth. That's what youth was considered. 15 or 16 to 25, that was your youth of your life. You only get a life once in your whole fucking life. You only live a life once. Everyone's only got a single fucking life. You know what I'm saying? You've only got one fucking life on the fucking planet, Earth. After you die, that's fucking it. You've only got a single life on the fucking planet unless you're stuck in these warehouses of crisped worm humans to fucking come back when you're after they unfreeze your body or however they store the body to then bring you back when it's all legal. And they'll use the excuse, "Oh, they got these warehouses of fully grown crisped worm humans, oh, if the fucking robots defect and all this shit." But I would have preferred death at the age of 25 than to be a dead or alive abducted and drugged slave. What thought actually does. Thought, measurement. The Australian government claims they're a program. Australian government claims all they are is they're measured to a program. That's what the Australian government's claiming. on their new Home Affairs website or their fucking other website that's coming up when you search brain measurement theft and all this shit. But Elon Musk is just one sick fucking puppy, eh? Elon Musk is the sickest puppy on this fucking planet. The type of shit with cameras rolling when he doesn't know anyone's fucking watching. The shit Elon Musk's probably over a couple of trillion, but over 11 or 12 trillion dollar businesses, and who can compete with four businesses that are worth over 12 trillion? But I would have preferred death at the age of 25 if I knew I was going to be abducted and drugged at the age of 25 for over 12 years without a fucking day in court. I would have said, ensure the security's there. I would have preferred death, and I would have preferred to be cremated without any body part thefts. But that's right, they'll steal body parts from children in their fucking apparatus and malware, claim all this shit and all this shit. Yeah, all feds have got shopping lists. All the feds have got shopping lists. I don't give a fuck. I don't get paid a fucking cent to fucking give a shit. Do you understand? I don't get paid a single fucking dollar or fucking cent to fucking give a fucking shit. But, you know, age of 25 being forced to pay slave tax from the age of 14 and 9 months over context name, paying slave tax from the age of 14 and 9 months, just to be at the age of 25 after being measured to an apparatus of malware for fucking trade autonomy of measured install. Oh, no, it doesn't exist, does it, cunt? Yet it's fucking exploited, isn't it, cunt? Yeah, this is LFDRA audio, Friday the 3rd of January 2025. This is Chief President, Mr. Harry Stiller, Republic of Australia LFDRA Party. We've seen this income management thing of the Liberal National Party, and we've seen how the Liberal National Party Definition 6 want to enforce income management for bought and sold slaves that just have to be slaves because of the working holiday visa, that are forced to pay slave tax. Well, Andrew Forrest, it was Andrew Forrest's policy. He went on TV for the repeal of the mining tax of the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd government. Andrew Forrest went on TV and spoke about income management basics card. Yet there's over 640,000 households living in tents in the Monarchist League Constitution area of King Charles III Commonwealth of Australia realm. There's over 640,000 households living in tents. We know that Definition 6 law of the Fed, we know ALP law, LNP law, and King Charles III Commonwealth of Australia realm corrects people that just being dead or alive bought and sold slaves. It's okay for a billionaire like Andrew Forrest to say income management, what the Liberal National Party implemented with basics cards. How would Andrew Forrest be if we said no? Because it's now a policy of LFDRA if we ever have victory, Republic of Australia LFDRA Party. If we ever have victory, we will turn every banknote that Andrew Forrest has in Australian banks. We'll turn every banknote of Andrew Forrest into polypipe. And if he has holdings of dollar coins and $2 coins, we'll turn them, I don't know what we could turn. We could turn the dollar coins and $2 coins into door locks.
into door locks. So if we ever have victory as Republic of Australia LFDRA Party and Republic of Australia Founding Party of Reform LFDRA Party, we'll turn every banknote holding of Andrew Forrest that he has in the bank or in his safes or in his safe house lockups of his bank balance, we'll turn all of his cash into polypipe. We'll seize all of his business assets and we'll force him to live on an income management card. We'll seize all of his bank balance. We'll seize all of his business holdings. And Andrew Forrest will be the only person in the country with an income management card because he was the billionaire that has billions in the bank that went on TV and said people need income management. That is terrorism. There's 640,000 households that are forced to live in tents and pay rents to live in tents because living in their cars, living in tents. What does New York City say? What does Definition 6 in New York City say? It's a mental illness, so the pharmaceutical industry make more money, yet the law corrects people to be homeless slaves that are forced to pay slave tax and be homeless that live in tents. There's 640,000 plus households living in tents. Andrew Forrest is now a listed terrorist because the terrorist organisation of Andrew Forrest that went for taxation repeal, you obviously know what Republic of Australia LFDRA Party policy is on ROA simple taxation page. Andrew Forrest is now a listed terrorist because he said basics card income management. So we'll seize all of Andrew Forrest's, if we ever have victory, it's a policy now, we'll seize all of Andrew Forrest's cash holdings in the bank. And if he has any $1 or $2 coins, we'll turn all of his $1 and $2 coins into door locks. And we'll turn all of his cash holdings in banks to polypipe. And then after that, well, the only person that'll be on an income management card will be a basics card, will be Andrew Forrest. He's a listed terrorist. And we know the taxation repeal, the mining taxation repeal. The people of Republic of Australia, resources are only, well, there's recycling, though that's what they were talking about. Just like Australia, the new Nauru. Like, you know, big, but actually a small country. But Andrew Forrest is now a publicly listed terrorist. Andrew Forrest is now a listed terrorist organisation. The terrorist regime can't border Kubra hats. Yeah, he might have had money to breed cattle so he could export black hair genetic cattle, but he doesn't like paying slaughtermen. He won't pay his slaves in his abattoirs. Yeah, this is President Mr. Harry Stiller, Republic of Australia LFDRA Party. Happy New Year for 2025. Happy New Year for 2025. And this is just on the 1st of January, bringing in new federal laws by the Labor Party. We don't support... We think it's acceptable that employers spend 10 years in prison for underpaying employees if they pay below the federal minimums, though we don't support the classification of the federal government's laws of the Monarchist League when it comes to the classification of juniors being paid below juniors can be paid above the federal minimum, though we don't support the classification of juniors. We support the ideology of same job, same pay. So, for example, it's been LFDRA's policy since 2017 that if someone was employed at the age of 14 and 9 months or 15, they would be employed at the full adult wage federal minimum or above from the age of 15 or 16. There would be no classification of juniors in the federal minimum
legislation ideology. The classification of juniors, we see that as exploitation. That just because someone is below the age of 21 and they're doing the same job but not getting the same pay, well, we know what Labor's policy is. We know what the Monarchist League, those that are sworn to serve King Charles's policy ideology is, that juniors get paid below the existing age 21 adult federal minimum. We don't support the Labor Party's policy on the classification of juniors getting paid below the adult federal minimum. So if anyone was to be employed in Australia, it would have to be the federal minimum under an LFDRA party government administration in Republic of Australia. The minimum is $33 per hour. It's on the ROA hourly rate minimum page, and that's been our policy. There's also LFDRA union, trade unions, LFDRA. So we don't support the federal governments of the Monarchist League of King Charles's ideology on the classification of juniors below 21 not being paid the full adult wage minimum. We see it as exploitation and a breach of... so we support same job, same pay ideology. We don't support the fact that the Labor Party wants... we don't support the Labor Party's legislation that juniors get paid below federal minimum classifications, and they're on a different wage minimum, yet they're doing the same job. They should get the same amount of pay. So we think the Labor Party's policy, we support 10 years prison for employers that pay below federal minimums. We support 10-year prison sentences for employers that pay below federal minimums. Though we don't support junior rates of pay below the age 21 federal minimum. So, but LFDRA, Republic of Australia, LFDRA party policy since 2017. So the existing federal minimum of King Charles III Commonwealth of Australia realm is in breach of the Republic of Australia LFDRA party policy, LFDRA ROA hourly rate minimum, which is $33 per hour. We don't support the classification of juniors in federal minimums. We would exclude so if the legal age to have a job in Republic of Australia is 14 and 9 months or 15 or 16, there would be no junior rates of pay. Same job, same pay. So we know how expensive the cost of living is at the moment with the Monarchist League of no fairer, equal, stable way. Though we don't support classification of juniors being paid $2 or $3 less, or the casual rate's $30 something, and the full-time rate's $24 something under the Labor Party. We don't support juniors being paid below that. Same job, same pay. The Labor Party's a listed terrorist organisation. They'll manipulate, claim they've sworn to serve King Charles's malware, and they're not a fair and equal, stable way for a living person. That's about it for LFDRA audio today on the 1st of the 1st, 2025. And once again, Happy New Year for 2025.
Yeah, I don't think the average Australian realises in 2009, 2010, 2011, I went online and looked at the statistics and visited the Australian Japan Foundation page of the Monarchist League Constitution King Charles III Commonwealth of Australia realm. And I also looked at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the actual relationship between Australia and Japan. I don't think the average person realises there was actually never a treaty with Nippon. There was no treaty. I said this well before it was broadcast anyway, on other media apparatuses. There was no treaty with Nipponese, the Japanese. There was no treaty. According to the official agreement between Australia and Japan, it was the context of the agreement. There was no treaty until 2022. There was a treaty in 2022, though pre-2022 there was no treaty. The official agreement between King Charles III Commonwealth of Australia realm and Nippon, Japan, was context trading partner. That was, in definition, that was the agreement between Australia and Nippon, was trading partner. That was the official agreement, trading partner. And then in 2022, there was an actual treaty with Nippon. There was a treaty, and we saw the monarchist league equivalents in Nippon go to England and met King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm, which was Buckingham Palace in England. See, the AFP have the belief that Australia is UK, though Republic of Australia is not UK at all. I'd say the majority of Australians have the belief that we are not UK yet. All the politicians of Definition 6 in the Fed are sworn to serve King Charles of their monarchist league, and they've committed a genocide and shoved it under the carpet. Though before the treaty, the context was trading partner, but there was international conventions, international law. There was international conventions, and there was obviously international convention treaties on particular aspects of international law agreements. International law agreements and treaties on international law agreements. So, though pre-2022, there was no actual treaty. Japan had no treaty with King Charles III, Commonwealth of Australia realm. There was actually no treaty, but I remember working on banana farms, and Japanese would say how much they fucking hate Australians. It was like that. But then it was like they're your best friend and they're trading partners. And though I was on the internet online in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011 or 2012, it was probably it was probably after my son was abducted by the Japanese. But the Japanese used to say how the North Korean ships would come past and abduct their children and take them back to North Korea and all this shit about abducted Japanese being taken to North Korea by secret North Korean ships and all this shit. But I was online, and according to the figures in the statistics in 2010, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, the numbers then, there was about 50-something thousand Nipponese, Japanese, living in Asutria, Australia, and there was the visa I had in Japan when I had business rights, work rights, and I was a registered alien. I had to have a alien registration card when I lived in Japan. I had to be registered by the Ministry of Justice as a registered alien. When I looked at the statistics, there was just over 6,000 Australians living in Japan, and Japan's population at that time was 150 million something, with over 300 Navy ships or something. And I was a registered... The 300 Navy ship part was whatever the population is of the planet. So, though, when I was living in Japan, I was registered as an alien. I had to have an alien registration card, as I said. Though, there was 6,000, just over 6,000 Australians that were living in Japan at that time. Obviously, there was tourist visa or visitor visa, or tourist visa, or whatever it is, for just fingerprints and photo and however many days it is. But there was 6,000 Japanese living in... No, 6,000 Australians living in Japan with business, like they can do business, work, all of that. Though I was married to a Japanese national or something, and so what percentage of the 6,000 were actually on the visa that I was, the permit that I was on? But according to the official agreement between Australia and Japan, it was trading partner. So they were trading partners. So in definition, everyone just traded partners and all of that. But yeah, the Japanese soldiers were known to they raped all the women in the Philippines. The Nipponese army, they just raped women in the Philippines, yet the US Marines, they just raped the Taliban and shot them dead. They just raped the Taliban and shot them dead. So, and the Japanese soldiers, they just raped all the women in the Philippines and Korea and China and Cambodia and Burma and probably even Russia and parts of Europe, though, and Papua New Guinea, though. But according to Spaniard, they brought their own. They would claim they bought their own sex slaves. Yet the Japanese just collected women sex slaves from where they were conquering. Yet, what percentage of the 6,000 Australians that were living in Japan that weren't on tourist visas were on the marriage visa that I was on? Yet my ex-wife had already knowingly exited my son from Australia because he entered on his Japanese passport. If you enter on a foreign passport, if you're see, I didn't even know he had a Japanese passport. This is the thing, but see the percentage of lived experience. There was only at that time there was only 6,000 Australians actually living in Nippon, Japan. There was only 6,000 Australians, and out of the 150-something million Japanese, there was 50-something thousand Japanese living in Australia. I haven't looked at the statistics online about 2022 or 2023 or 2024, what the number is of Australians that are living in Japan as registered aliens and Japanese living in Australia, dual Japanese living in Australia as Australian passport holders and Japanese passport holders as non-registered aliens. See, if Australians, say for example, if an Australian married a Japanese person and they went to Japan and the husband or wife had to get a visa in Japan, the only way they could get a visa is if they were married. Though what percentage of the 6,000 that were living in Japan were actually on a visa through marriage, where in Australia, Japanese don't have to be registered as aliens. Yet when I was in Japan, I had to register as an alien. I had a Ministry of Justice alien registration card, a MOAFA, Ministry of, I don't know what it was called. It was a Ministry of Justice alien registration card. I had a Ministry of Justice alien. I had to have an alien registration card. How many Japanese that are Australian passport holders and Japanese passport holders, how many of those Japanese as Australian citizens with passports and Japanese citizens with passports, how many of them have to have an alien registration card in Australia? Not one single person. Yet the 6,000 Australians that were living in Japan have to have an alien registration card. I've been a registered alien in Japan. I had to have a alien registration card. Who in Australia that you know has ever had to register as an alien in Nippon because their son's been abducted? Who, in the aspect of international law, how it rolls with passports, if you're a dual passport holder and you enter Australia on your foreign passport and you've got an Australian passport, you've exited yourself. So if someone's got a British passport and they exit Australia on their British passport and then re-enter on their British passport, they've exited themselves. There used to be a time that dual passport holders at one stage, dual passport holders lost their Australian citizenship if they held a passport of another country. Though according to one of my ex-Australian brothers that became a British citizen, so he's not my brother anymore, he said that in Japan, when they turn 21, they have to renounce Australian citizenship or something. But my two sons that live in Okinawa, they don't speak English. They can't speak English. So, they both speak fluent
Japanese and Okinawan, Ryukyuan or something. But what's the percentage of Australians that have actually lived the experience of being a registered alien in Nippon under that visa? Well, this is LFDRA audio. On the 28th of December 2024, well, if Stephen Smith, the ambassador in England, if he was doing his job properly, you'd probably have to say, when it comes to Australians or Republic of Australians visiting England, you'd probably have to say, through my experience, obviously, as I've said in one of the first LFDRA audios on YouTube, when I was 12 and I was asked where I'm from and I said I was Australian, someone pulled a knife on me. But I've been working in jobs and staying at places where British people from England, there's an Australian. So when I was 12 and in England, I said I was Australian and they pulled a knife on me. Because I was Australian, and we seen the 11-year-old stabbed in England. So Stephen Smith, if he was doing his job correctly, he'd have to say exercise a high degree of caution as an Australian or a Republic of Australian in England overall. Exercise a high degree of caution, because I think British people or English people have a lot of resentment and hate against Australians. The fact that they're Australian, there's obviously a lot of gossip and resentment by British people of Australians. So if Stephen Smith was doing his job correctly, you'd have to say exercise a high degree of caution overall for England as an Australian.